The cave house rested quietly inside a rocky hill, far from the noise of the main road. From outside, it looked like a dark opening covered by vines and loose stones. Many people walked past it every day without stopping. To them, it was just another forgotten place. To Mira, it felt like the first calm breath she had taken in years. Mira came to the village with no clear plan. Her life in the city had slowly become heavy. Work drained her energy. Rent took most of her money. Every morning felt the same as the one before. She did not feel sad all the time, but she felt empty. She wanted space, silence, and a chance to begin again. The village was small and quiet. Dusty roads ran between stone houses. People moved slowly, greeting each other by name. While walking near the hills, Mira noticed a small wooden board tied to a pole. The words "property for sale" were written by hand. An arrow pointed toward the rocky slope. Curiosity pulled her forward. At the village office, she met Rafi, an old man with gray hair and deep lines on his face. His voice was calm, and his eyes studied her carefully when she asked about the property near the hill. "You mean the cave house," Rafi said. "No one asks about it anymore." Mira asked why. Rafi shrugged. "People say it is strange. Hard to explain. It is cheap though. 250. Mira thought she heard him wrong. That amount would barely cover 1 month of rent in the city. She asked again, and Rafi repeated the price without smiling. He explained that the house was carved into the hill many years ago. It stayed strong and steady, protected from heat and cold. Still, people avoided it. No one wanted to live inside rock. No one wanted to deal with old stories. Mira did not care about stories. She cared about survival and peace. She signed the papers that same afternoon. When she first stepped inside the cave house, the air felt cool and clean. The walls curved naturally, smooth from time and touch. Light entered from a narrow opening above, spreading softly across the main room. Dust covered the floor, but the space felt solid and safe. Mira walked slowly, touching the walls with her fingers. There was a small sleeping space, a wide main room, and a narrow path leading deeper into the hill. The place felt larger than it looked from outside. "This will be enough," she said softly. She spent the next few days cleaning. She swept dust, wiped stone surfaces, and opened the entrance wider to let light in. She brought in a simple bed, a table, a chair, and a small lamp. Each item made the cave feel more like a home. At night, the silence was deep. No cars. No voices. Only the sound of wind brushing past the entrance and the soft echo of her own movements. Mira slept better than she had in years. On the third night, something changed. As she lay on her bed, she felt a faint vibration beneath her. It was gentle, like a slow pulse. It lasted only a moment, then faded. Mira sat up, listening carefully. Nothing followed. She told herself it was the hill settling or her imagination playing tricks. The next morning, while cleaning the back wall, her cloth caught on a thin crack between stones. When she pressed gently, one flat stone shifted. Behind it was a small hidden space carved into the wall. Inside lay a folded cloth and an old metal key. Mira stared at it for a long moment. Rafi had said the house was empty. She picked up the key. It was heavy and slightly warm in her hand. That detail made her pause. She placed the items back carefully and covered the space again. Later that day, she went to the village market. People greeted her kindly but kept their distance. When she mentioned living in the cave house, conversations slowed. Eyes shifted. An elderly woman named Sana finally spoke. "You bought that place," Sana said quietly. "Did they tell you about the one who lived there before?" Mira shook her head. Sana lowered her voice. "One person lived there for many years. Always alone. No family. No visitors." "Where did they go?" Mira asked. Sana sighed. "Some say they left. Some say the cave never truly let them go." That night, Mira returned home with a strange feeling in her chest. She tried to focus on simple tasks, cooking and cleaning, but her thoughts kept drifting. When she turned off the lamp and lay down, sleep refused to come. The silence felt heavier than before. Then she heard it. A soft sound, like a step against stone. Mira held her breath. The sound came again, slow and careful, deeper inside the cave. Her heart beat faster. She told herself it had to be an animal or echo. She stood up and turned on the lamp. The yellow light stretched across the walls but did not reach the deeper path. The sound stopped. Mira took one step forward, then another. Her hands trembled slightly. She opened her mouth to speak but stopped herself. A calm voice came from the darkness. "You were not supposed to find the key so soon." Mira froze, staring into the shadow, realizing that buying the cave house had not only given her a home, but also opened a door to a past that was still breathing inside the stone. Mira stood still near the center of the cave, holding the lamp with both hands. The light shook slightly as her fingers trembled. The voice she heard did not sound angry or threatening. It sounded calm, almost tired. That made the fear feel deeper. "Who are you?" Mira asked in a low voice. There was a pause. The cave felt wider and deeper in that moment, as if the stone itself was listening. "My name is Noor," the voice said. "I lived here before you." Mira swallowed hard. Her mind tried to understand what was happening. She had believed the cave was empty. She had signed papers. She had paid money. Still, someone was standing in the dark path of her new home. "Rafi told me the house was empty," Mira said. "It is empty to them," Noor replied. "It stopped being a house long ago. It became a shelter." Mira took a careful step forward. The lamplight reached part of the narrow path. She saw a figure standing near the wall. Noor looked older than she expected. His clothes were clean but worn. His hair was dark with lines of gray. His eyes reflected the lamplight but held no anger. "Why are you still here?" Mira asked. Noor lowered his gaze. "Because this place saved me once. And because leaving felt like losing myself." Mira felt a mix of fear and confusion. She did not feel danger from him, but she did not feel safe either. She thought of the key, the hidden shelf, and the warm metal in her hand. "You hid things in the wall," she said. Noor nodded slowly. "I needed to know they would not be taken." Mira placed the lamp on the table and crossed her arms. "You should have told me." "No one told you because no one asks," Noor said. "They prefer silence." That night, they sat far apart, speaking little. Noor explained that he had lived in the cave for many years. He had once worked in the village, repairing tools and walls. After a great loss, he had stopped speaking to people. The cave became his quiet place. "When the village changed, they stopped noticing me," Noor said. "I did not correct them." Mira listened carefully. She saw sadness in his posture, not threat. Still, she was unsure what to do. "You cannot stay here," she finally said. "I bought this place." Noor nodded. "I know. I will leave soon." The word soon did not comfort her. She slept little that night, keeping the lamp on until morning. The next day, Mira visited Rafi. She told him everything. Rafi listened with heavy eyes. "I thought he left years ago," Rafi said. "He refused help. The village gave up trying." "What am I supposed to do?" Mira asked. Rafi sighed. "He belongs to this hill more than we do. But the house is yours now." When Mira returned, she found Noor sitting outside the cave entrance, staring at the hills. The sunlight made his face look older. "I spoke to Rafi," she said. Noor nodded without turning. "I guessed you would." Mira sat on a rock nearby. The silence between them felt less sharp than before. "I do not want to throw you out without a plan," she said. "But I cannot live like this." Noor finally looked at her. "I never meant to frighten you." "I know," Mira replied. But this place is meant to be my fresh start. Noor stood slowly. Then let me explain everything. After that, you decide. That evening, Noor told his full story. He spoke of a time when the cave house was built with care. It was meant to be a shared home. After his family was gone, he stayed because leaving felt like erasing them. I kept the cave alive, he said. I cleaned it. I fixed cracks. I protected it. Mira realized the truth then. The cave was not abandoned. It had been cared for quietly. You were the reason it still stands strong, she said. Noor nodded. That night, Mira thought deeply. She had come seeking peace, not conflict. She had found something else instead. The next morning, she made a decision. You can stay for now, she told Noor. But we need rules. And we need honesty. Noor looked surprised. Why would you do that? Because this place holds both our stories now, Mira said. And because starting fresh does not always mean starting alone. Noor agreed quietly. As the sun rose over the hills, the cave house felt different. Not empty. Not crowded. Just waiting for what came next. Mira did not know how long Noor would stay or how the village would react. But she knew one thing clearly. Buying the cave house for 250 had changed her life in ways money could never explain. The days after Mira's decision moved slowly, like the clouds drifting above the hills. Living in the same space with Noor felt strange at first. They kept distance, not only in space but in words. The cave house was large enough for silence to exist between them. Mira set clear rules. Noor would stay in the deeper section of the cave. Mira would use the main living space. They would speak openly and never hide things again. Noor agreed without argument. He looked relieved, as if being allowed to stay honestly mattered more than staying at all. Every morning, Mira stepped outside to breathe the fresh air. The hills glowed softly under the rising sun. The cave entrance no longer felt like a dark secret. It felt like a doorway shared by two quiet lives. Noor spent most of his time repairing small cracks in the stone walls and clearing old paths near the entrance. Mira noticed how carefully he worked. He treated the cave like something alive. One afternoon, Mira watched him smooth a rough stone with a simple tool. You learned this work long ago, she said. Noor nodded. My family built parts of this place with their hands. Stone remembers care. Mira did not fully understand his words, but she felt their truth. When Mira visited the village market, people noticed the change in her tone. She smiled more. She walked with purpose. Sana watched her closely. You look settled, Sana said. Mira hesitated, then spoke honestly. Someone still lives in the cave. Sana's eyes widened, then softened. Noor. You know him? Mira asked. We all did, Sana replied. Before grief made him invisible. The village slowly learned the truth. Some reacted with fear. Some with guilt. Rafi spoke to the elders, explaining that Noor had never caused harm. He had simply faded into silence. A few villagers brought food near the cave entrance, leaving it quietly. Noor noticed but said nothing. Mira saw his hands tremble the first time he found a basket waiting outside. That night, Noor spoke more than usual. I forgot what it felt like to be seen, he said. Mira listened without interrupting. As weeks passed, the cave house changed again. Mira added shelves and small plants near the entrance. Light filled the space more freely. Laughter, rare but real, echoed against the stone. Still, something felt unfinished. One evening, while cleaning the deeper passage, Mira found another hidden space behind loose stone. Inside was a bundle of letters tied with string. The paper was yellowed but carefully kept. She brought them to Noor. His face tightened when he saw them. These are from my family, he said. I could not read them again. Mira placed the letters gently on the table. You do not have to today. Noor nodded, but later that night, he picked them up. Mira heard his quiet voice reading aloud, steady but heavy. The letters spoke of plans, hopes, and simple days. They spoke of a home meant to be shared. When he finished, Noor sat silently for a long time. I stayed because I thought leaving meant forgetting, he said. But staying trapped me in the past. Mira understood then that the cave house was not only shelter. It was memory. The next morning, Noor surprised her. I will leave soon, he said. Mira looked at him carefully. Is that what you want? No, Noor said honestly. But it is what I need. They spoke with Rafi together. A small stone room near the village workshop was offered to Noor. It was simple, close to people, close to work. The move was quiet. Noor packed only what he needed. Before leaving, he placed the old key back into Myra's hand. This belongs to you now, he said. The cave is yours to live in, not hide in. Mira felt a tightness in her chest. You will always have a place here, she said. Noor smiled gently. I know. When Noor walked down the hill, the cave felt different again. Not empty. Not lonely. Just calm. That night, Mira sat near the entrance, watching the stars appear one by one. She thought about how a cheap purchase had given her more than walls and shelter. It had given her a shared story. The cave house no longer held secrets that needed to stay buried. It held truth. And Mira knew that this was only the beginning of what the cave would become. After Noor left the cave house, Mira expected the silence to feel heavy again. Instead, it felt clean and open, like a deep breath after a long wait. The cave no longer held shadows that watched her. It held memories that rested quietly. Mira woke early each morning. Sunlight reached the entrance and spread softly across the stone floor. She cleaned the space again, not because it was dirty, but because it felt right to begin this new chapter with care. She rearranged the table, moved the bed closer to the light, and placed small plants near the entrance. Life slowly shaped the stone. The villagers noticed the change. Mira no longer looked like a visitor. She greeted people by name. She stayed longer at the market. She listened to stories instead of walking past them. Sana invited her for tea one afternoon. The room smelled of herbs and warm bread. You brought life back to the hill, Sana said. Mira shook her head. The hill already had life. I only learned to see it. News spread that Mira was fixing the cave house, not to hide, but to live openly. Some villagers became curious. Children climbed the path to peek at the entrance. Elders stopped nearby during evening walks. One afternoon, Rafi came to visit. He looked around slowly, nodding at the shelves, the plants, the open doorway. It feels different, he said. Lighter. It feels honest, Mira replied. Rafi smiled. Then it is finally a home again. Mira decided to make the cave house useful not just for herself, but for others too. She cleared a side space and placed benches there. She opened the entrance wider so light could reach deeper inside. Word spread that the cave was open during the day. At first, only a few people came. A farmer asked for help fixing tools. A young girl came to read in the quiet. A tired traveler rested in the shade. Mira welcomed them all. The cave became a place of pause, not fear. One evening, Noor returned. Mira saw him standing near the entrance as the sun dipped behind the hills. He looked stronger, cleaner, like someone who had stepped back into the world. You came back, Mira said gently. I wanted to see what you made, Noor replied. He stepped inside slowly. His eyes moved across the space, the light, the open paths. He did not look sad. He looked proud. You turned it outward, he said. That is what it was meant for. They sat near the entrance and talked about simple things. Noor spoke of his work at the village workshop. People trusted his hands again. He fixed doors, stone walls, broken paths. I feel useful, he said. You always were, Mira replied. Before leaving, Noor placed a small stone carving on the table. It was shaped like a hill with an open doorway. "For the cave," he said. As seasons changed, the cave house became known beyond the village. Travelers stopped by. Some asked about staying. Mira thought carefully before agreeing. She set rules. Respect the space. Respect the quiet. No one stayed long. No one took more than they needed. The cave house became a bridge between past and present. One stormy evening, rain fell hard against the hills. Water rushed down the paths, but the cave stayed dry and safe. Inside, several villagers gathered, sharing food and warmth. Laughter filled the stone walls. Mira stood back and watched. This was what she had been searching for without knowing it. Later that night, when everyone left, Mira sat alone near the entrance. She held the old key in her hand. It no longer felt heavy. It felt complete. She placed the key back into the hidden shelf, not to hide it, but to honor what came before. The cave house was no longer a secret. It was a shared space, shaped by many hands and many stories. Mira looked out at the hills and smiled, knowing that the smallest purchase she ever made had grown into the greatest change of her life. Time passed gently around the cave house, changing it in ways Mira never expected. What once felt like a quiet escape became a steady part of village life. The hill no longer looked forgotten. Paths were clearer. The entrance stayed open during daylight. People stopped by not out of fear or curiosity, but because the cave felt welcoming. Mira learned to balance solitude and connection. Some mornings, she worked alone, writing and reading near the entrance while light moved slowly across the stone. Other days, visitors arrived early. A traveler shared stories from distant roads. A farmer rested his back and spoke about the weather. A child asked questions about how the cave was carved. Mira answered patiently, always with honesty. The cave house gave without asking for attention. That was its strength. One afternoon, a group of elders asked Mira to attend a village meeting. She sat among them, listening carefully. "The cave has changed our hill," one elder said. "It reminds us of what we forgot." Another nodded. "We want it protected." Mira felt a quiet pride but also responsibility. She explained her rules again. The cave would remain simple. No noise. No damage. No ownership beyond care. They agreed. Not long after, Nor returned again, this time carrying tools and a rolled piece of cloth. "I brought something," he said. Inside the cloth was a simple map drawn by hand. It showed the hill, the cave paths, and safe walking routes. "So people do not get lost," Nor explained. Mira thanked him. Together, they placed the map near the entrance. Their friendship grew without force. They spoke when words were needed and stayed silent when they were not. Nor no longer carried the weight he once had. Mira no longer felt alone in her choices. One evening, Sana visited with a small bundle. "For the colder nights," she said. Inside was a hand-stitched blanket. Mira realized then that the cave house was no longer hers alone. It belonged to the people who cared for it. A year passed. The cave house stood strong through heat and rain. Vines grew naturally around the entrance, guided but not controlled. The stone walls held warmth and calm. Mira had built a life that felt steady, not rushed. One quiet morning, Mira woke before sunrise. She stepped outside and watched the sky change colors. The hill felt alive beneath her feet. She thought back to the moment she bought the cave house for $250. At that time, she only wanted a place to breathe. She never imagined it would give her purpose. Later that day, a traveler arrived carrying little more than a bag and tired eyes. "May I rest here?" the traveler asked. Mira smiled. "For a while." As the traveler sat inside, Mira stepped back and looked at the cave from a distance. It did not look hidden anymore. It looked rooted. That night, Mira sat near the back wall where she had first found the hidden shelf. She touched the stone gently. The old key remained inside, not as a secret, but as a symbol. The cave no longer held what was lost. It held what was shared. Mira closed her eyes, listening to the quiet sounds of the hill. No footsteps followed. No voices whispered from the dark. Only peace remained. She understood then that some places are not meant to be owned. They are meant to be understood. The cave house had changed her, not because of who lived there before, but because it taught her how to live now. And in that calm understanding, Mira finally felt at home.